on the west coast of British Columbia, Canada, some 500 kilometers north of Vancouver. At the head of this remote inlet lies Ocean Falls, a historical community teetering on the edge of absolute abandonment. It's such an eerie feeling. It's completely abandoned. Creepy, apocalyptic, end-of-the-world vibe to it. It's kind of crazy that you can just walk in here.
So dark and creepy. I'm good.
It used to be a booming industry town back in the 70s, but has been completely abandoned ever since.
Everybody who was living here, their lives were absolutely uprooted. Everything they had worked towards over the last years of living here, just gone, decimated. It does have one thriving industry though, which is really, really cool. It has one of the only completely renewable energy-based Bitcoin mining operations. It's really cool to see the juxtaposition of like futuristic tech and old heritage trail BC. Pretty neat.
I'm Allison, and this is James. We're sailing the north along this rugged Canadian coastline all the way to Alaska and beyond, exploring far-reaching fjords and remote anchorages of the Great Bear Rainforest. We just had the most incredible wildlife show.
And this anchorage might be one of the coolest ones I've ever been to. It is like a rock amphitheater in here.
Our small 30-foot sailboat Uintah is the ticket to the untamed unknown that we crave to discover, where the spirits of the wild are alive and thriving. There is a grizzly bear feeding on the beach pretty close to our boat. It's incredible to be able to soak in hot springs while looking out at your sailboat on anchor. After several weeks living off-grid, we're running low on supplies.
We need to go provision, get some food on the boat. We need to do laundry, we need to buy diesel.
So we're slowly making our way back to civilization. But it turns out the stores around here shut down a long time ago. We're just walking through the downtown sector, or what used to be the main drag here in Ocean Falls. It's such an eerie feeling. It's completely abandoned. So it used to be a thriving boom town back in the 50s. It was an industry town. It had a paper mill, and basically they used the hydroelectricity from the dam to power the paper mill. And for many, many years, Ocean Falls was a thriving community with a couple thousand citizens living here happily. They had white picket fences and beautiful gardens, and now it is just a ghost town. Super, super interesting place. It's almost got this like creepy, apocalyptic, end of the world vibe to it. We just can't get enough of this place. We're gonna stick around here a little bit longer and really get the inside scoop, then do another video about that next week.
I just want to like salvage everything. There's cool tool chests, there's cool bits of advertising, like just even cool brass things and little bits of wrought iron that like, manufacturers don't do these days. That's just like super groovy and like the designs are super neat. I love that kind of stuff. It's kind of like your antiquing dream.
In its current state, it's difficult to imagine this place once being a booming community. All but deserted now, this town is home to ghosts of the past. But it's not dead yet. In fact, it might just be making a comeback.
So across the river here, on the other side of this bridge, is the old mill building, but now it currently holds Ocean Falls blockchain.
For a town that's literally falling down, the dock and amenities here for cruising folks are relatively new. Moorage is really cheap. You can fill your tanks with fresh mountain water and hook up to the unlimited power supply of the falls. And if you're a dirtbag cruiser like us, you hadn't had a hot shower in a good few days.
Nothing like a hot cruiser's bath.
You might be excited to hear that there are a few luxuries available, like ice. There is no store here in Ocean Falls, but there is someone selling local fresh produce. So we just bought some tomatoes, hot peppers, eggplant, cucumbers, and make some dinner.
This is the community greenhouse here in Ocean Falls. It's run by the Ocean Falls Growth Society, which is pretty cool. A lot of the produce that they grow here, they sell to other community members. It's kind of the only groceries that's really available here in Ocean Falls. And conveniently, they stock the shack down at the marina there with stuff out of the garden here, which is pretty sweet. It's actually really interesting. I recently found out that Ocean Falls is classified as an industrial district, which isn't like a village or like a municipality. It allows them to like run water and power, but that's really about it. So they have no other way to access provincial funding for their community. So one of the ways that they can access provincial funding is by forming not-for-profit organizations and societies that they can then apply for grant money from the government to do projects. And this is one of such projects to improve their community. I think it's under one of the food sustainability grants, and they accessed that grant money to build this beautiful greenhouse to provide better food security for their community. I think it's pretty awesome, but it does seem like being an improvement district is kind of like a bit of an oxymoron, because if you can't access funding very easily, it's very hard to improve your district. So I feel like that's one of those weird sort of like political jokes, you know? I don't know. There's a dark humor that's somehow enveloped in that. Seems like Ocean Falls lives on this incredible contradiction and juxtaposition of like old decay and new growth. Like, we're standing next to more or less a brand new greenhouse that's growing all of these beautiful vegetables and flowers, and there's such growth and life here. And it's so interesting that it's like framed behind it with the old rotting skeleton of the hotel. It's such a cool thing to check out.
The stark contrast of growth and decay is what makes this place so interesting. Deteriorating buildings being reclaimed by the aliveness of the Rain Coast. In 1980, the mill was shut down. Residents left town, and the BC government began demolishing piece by piece. The Martin Inn, at one time one of BC's largest hotels, still looms over the town site, ghosts creaking the floorboards of its past. But the phantoms of Ocean Falls' future are just around the corner, where a new business has been born, using the excess power of a century-old hydroelectric dam, ready to be harnessed by human imagination.
So across the river here, on the other side of this bridge, is the old mill building. It's all that's really left of the mill, but now it currently holds Ocean Falls Blockchain, which is a Bitcoin mining operation that's been set up here. It's actually really interesting. It's the only real big industry to move into Ocean Falls in the last decade. I don't really know a hell of a lot about Bitcoin and blockchain, so I'm just going to skip over that aspect of things. The two things that I do know is that there's a lot of computers involved. They use a hell of a lot of energy, and it's not exactly green, like this whole cryptocurrency thing. When you get down behind the scenes of it, they're producing a lot of heat and using a hell of a lot of energy to make money. And one of the biggest issues, the value of the Bitcoin is so variable, and the cost of the power to mine it is so great that those things sometimes like tip the scales on the feasibility of whether it's actually a viable thing to do. What is really cool about the bit mining operation here in Ocean Falls is that it's based on a 100% renewable source of electricity generated by the hydro dam here that a company called Boralax runs. The dam can produce 14.5 megawatts of power, which is quite substantial because BC Hydro only buys like 1.5 to 2 megawatts of power from them to power Shearwater and Bella Bella, which are the only communities that are hooked up to this power source. So the rest of this power, like the other 12.5 megawatts that the dam can produce, is kind of just being wasted. It's running straight over the top of the dam and out into the ocean. The bit mining operation here, I think, is using about 2 megawatts of power, so they're buying power equivalent to all of that is used to run Shearwater and Bella Bella, which is really neat because as opposed to like burning oil and gas to fund this creation of cryptocurrency, they're actually using a renewable source of power that would otherwise be wasted. So I think that's a really neat application of the technology. It employs one person in town, unfortunately, though. I don't really know how much the community is really benefiting from that per se, but it's a really interesting concept, and it's really cool to see the juxtaposition of like futuristic tech and old heritage trail BC kind of collide in this kind of like abandoned post-apocalyptically set town. It's pretty neat. We were hoping to take a look at the servers and everything, but apparently it's all locked up and you're not allowed to go over there. fair enough, I guess it is a private corporation. But it would have been really cool to see. I've never actually seen a Bitcoin mine. I'm sure it's nothing like, you know, Zoolander.
I think I'm getting the black lung, Bob. It's not very well ventilated down there.
Mining Bitcoin would still be an interesting thing to check out.
It's so hot here today, and it was really, really stifling warm down on the boat. So James and I walked up to Link Lake, the giant lake behind the dam here in Ocean Falls, for a little swim, or a cruiser's bath, as we call it. The water is really cold at first, but once you get in and stay in for a little bit, you start to get used to it, and it feels so nice after being in the boat all day.
It is absolutely scorching up here at the lake, and this valley, breathtaking. The granite domes up on the mountains are just absolutely stunning. It's been really cool checking out Ocean Falls. There's a lot more here than you would expect. On the surface, it seems like it's just this kind of derelict, falling apart, little abandoned town. But once you get chatting with a few people, like, there are some pretty interesting things that are happening here, from some of the community development programs and the societies that are there running here in amongst the community, to some of the new corporations that have moved into town, like this bit mining operation that's happening down on the bottom of the falls. It's really cool to see. I really hope that this place manages to find a way to, you know, survive the modern era. It'd be a real shame to lose a part of, like, the heritage of the BC coast. I would at least buy a house up here for the summer.
I really like this one. Can we get it?
Sure.
It's a nice fixer-upper.
But also, what's up with all the frogs here and toads in Ocean Falls? Like, there are so many frogs here. I have not seen this density of frogs since growing up in Australia. There's tadpoles in all the pools up here, and every time you walk down the road, you got to be really careful that you don't squash a tiny little toadlet. We were going through the museum last night, and there's like an entire double-long table full of frog paraphernalia. Like, these guys are croaked.
The force generated by those falls is insane. You can like feel the energy, and it's so loud.
Well, sadly, our time here in Ocean Falls has come to an end. If you're into post-apocalyptic villages or just like architecture, then definitely come check it out. It's a really cool place, and I love the history. The buildings are amazing. The people are lovely, friendly, very quiet. The time has come to follow the power generated by this dam down the wires to the communities of Shearwater and Bella Bella. We need to go provision, get some food on the boat. While there are some freshies that you can buy here in Ocean Falls, we are in need of other stuff. We need to do laundry, we need to buy diesel, and we need to like get peppers, onions, potatoes, and the rest of it. We're gonna head off today. We're gonna go pull a crab pot that we put down yesterday, because apparently the crabbing up here is quite good. We're gonna find out. So yeah, let's turn on the engine, pull the lines, and get off the dock. Let's go. What do you reckon to be on the bottom?
Free Dungeness.
Free Dungeness?
Male.
All male? All right, I'll take that bet.
What about you?
I reckon there'll be 2 male Dungeness. Or just get completely skunked.
That's more what we're used to. Oh no.
That's the way she goes.
Maybe our intel was wrong.
Maybe.
put together a salad using the only fresh produce that we have currently on board, which we got from the greenhouse here. Today I got some tomatoes and eggplant and made sort of like a grain bowl. So there's millet, chickpeas, and a tahini sauce with some smoky eggplant that I fried up, and then I made like a tomato cucumber salad, threw in some fresh berries that we picked, and some lettuce. So we're gonna eat that. Hopefully your lettuce doesn't blow away.
Our eggplant is divine. Really nice touch with the smoked paprika.
Thanks.
Top notch. Just making our way out of Cousins Inlet. We're nearly back to the mouth into Fisher's Channel. It's kind of like leaving the past behind in a literal and figurative sense of the word. We're trolling for some salmon on the way up. We're planning on heading down to Gunboat Passage, transiting through Gunboat and down to Denny Island to go check out Shearwater, which is the first recipient of the power that comes out of Ocean Falls. The power lines are running just along our starboard side here, so we're going to pretty well follow them the entire way. They take a dip and go underneath Gunboat Passage, at which point we get to cross over the top of them and then wrap around them onto Denny Island. It's been pretty cool. It's been a few years since I've been to Shearwater. I hope the pub is still serving cold beer, and I could really use a burger. That'd be very nice.
There's wind out here. So we are prepping the boat. We're gonna throw up the main to see if we can get a good tacking angle on Fisher Channel. It's gonna be an upwind slog, but we knew that. It's interesting because when you're sailing north up the BC coast in the summer, the predominant wind is a northerly. The whole time we've been sailing up these inlets, we've sort of been getting inflow and outflow winds. This would be an inflow wind, but out there it's probably blowing a northerly. No bueno.
No bueno. There's not enough wind to sail upwind. Can't even keep the main full because the sail is just moving around and just looks like it's in irons.
Dang. Just as we said there was no wind, it filled in this valley, and now we're sailing up for 5 knots. So I'm gonna start flying over.
The wind came over this little valley over here, so we put out the head sail, and now we're screaming along at what, like 2.5 knots? 4 knots. Hooray! Here we go. Well, we'll see how long it lasts, but yay for wind.
Exciting. We're going like 5.5 knots.
A little faster this time.
Speedy coho.
We're going speed.
Getting them in?
Yep. Oh, I caught a pom-pom. The seaweed by the looks of it. We'll cook that up to dinner, eh?
That's going to be so tasty.
Maybe we can put some like eggplant and tomatoes with it, and we'll have another salad. I guess that's what I get for trying to fish. Al catches all the fish anyway.
James and I were just out in the dinghy having a little jig, and I caught myself a pretty massive fish.
I think that's the biggest fish you've ever pulled in.
I like this fishing thing. I'm good at it.
She is. Al's like a natural born fisherman. I think it's the beauty in her. I am not a natural fisherman.
That was really exciting there for a minute when the reel went off.
It was, I haven't heard that sound in ages. Oh yeah, there's a big coho on the end of this one for sure. A big salmonoid creature. Oh well.
This is beautiful sailing. We are very gently and effortlessly gliding upwind. There's not even anyone at the helm right now. And we don't have an autopilot. The boat is just so well balanced that it's steering a straight course. And that course is exactly in the direction we would like to go. Usually beating upwind is the less desirable point of sail, but today it is glorious. It means we can step away from the helm and enjoy it. It's perfect. We are just a couple nautical miles away from Gunboat Passage, which is not too narrow of a passage, but there are a couple of rocks. So we'll be at the helm for that. But right now we're just gonna sit back and enjoy this beautiful cruise up Fisher Channel. Thanks for watching, folks. Biggest thanks to our Patreons. A little goes a long way to keep small channels like ours alive. You guys make these videos possible. Give this one a like and write us a note down in the comments. We love hearing from you. We'll see you next time.